Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, hello, hello. What's good? What's good? What's good? I am Dr. Lene Javette. I know how to say my name. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. If you listen to the world, they'll tell you that if you haven't built wealth in your 20s or 30s, your time has passed. That you missed your window and it's too late. But for most people, those decades are spent working, raising families, paying bills, and learning financial lessons the hard way. That experience matters. It mattered to me. I'm sure it mattered to you. Today, we're going to talk about how to build and protect wealth when you have more clarity, more responsibility, and more to protect. Today, Fly Nubian Money presents a Rise segment, RISE, Rise segment. And we're going to be focused on making smart financial moves in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. RISE stands for real estate, insurance, stock market, and entrepreneurship. So these are four pillars, and we have these individuals that are going to help us to use these four pillars to create income, manage risk, and build long-term financial stability. On our panelists today, we have some people you might not have seen here at Fly Nubian Money before, okay? But we're going to hold it down. We have Jermaine Fletcher, who will take care of our SNRE in our RISE, which is the stocks and the insurance. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, Jermaine. And then we have Ms. Dominique Morgan, who is an RN and also does real estate. So she'll take care of the R. And I will pull in the E for entrepreneurship. And so that's our panel today, and we're going to be talking about this. I believe that we have a quick video that we're going to go to around this subject of waiting until the later years to be considered wealthy and starting your wealth journey and investing and starting businesses. So let's get to our video first, and then we'll jump in here and I'll get some more feedback from our panelists.
If you are a midlife woman and you know you need to make money fast within the next 30 days, I need you to listen up. I'm about to break it down real simple for you so you can start today. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick one thing. You're going to choose that one thing that you do naturally, that one thing that people always come to you for. Don't overthink it. Don't go studying. Don't buy another course. Remember, you only have 30 days. Now take that thing and do one of two things or both. Option one. Turn it into a recorded 30 or 60-minute masterclass or a quick step-by-step ebook. Keep it simple. Solve one clear problem for one specific person. Remember the power of one. Option two, offer a 60-minute strategy session or coaching call. All you need to do is get somebody from confused to clear. They'll pay for that. You can do 5 or 10 of those in 1 month in the next 30 days if you really pick up on showing up. Now remember, you said you needed to make money fast. Now, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is just to get the ball rolling. Show up online, talk to people at your church, talk to people at your children's school, hit the people back up that's always hitting you up for free information and tell them you even have more, but it's a cost to it. Book those calls or sell those digital products. This is how you're going to build your momentum in the next 30 days. And from there, then you can start adding on other things and possibly.
All right. So it sounded like she jumped the gun a little bit and was giving out advice on what you can do. But what she's really talking about is it's not too late, right? It's never too late to follow your goals, to follow your dreams, to pivot, to change your career, things of that nature. Jermaine, so you do a couple of different things, right? You do investing, you do stock. When did you get into those types of things? Was it earlier in your life, in your career, or later? You're on mute. You might be on.
I'm on mute.
Yep. Now you're back.
Okay. Yes, I was fortunate enough to be able to get in a career in my mid-20s as an insurance agent. And so as being a financial broker, I was able to start investing early. And I understood the meaning of compound interest. And while saying that, one of Einstein's greatest quotes is, Compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So that time, when the compound interest, the earlier you get in, the greater your gain would be. So I was able to get in my mid 20s, about 25, 26. I was able to start putting away in 403Bs, Roth IRAs, and annuities at that time. I didn't get into the stock market until I was like 40. I had to get better knowledge of the understanding of the risk. And in the beginning, I was just there for safety. And so those are the vehicles I used for safety in my first 15 years. And then after that, I was able to understand the stock market and jump into the risk pool.
Nice. All right. What about you, Dominique?
So I got into real estate professionally about 8 years ago. So I was in my late 30s. But I actually purchased my first property in my 20s right out of college. So I didn't have any money, but I knew I wanted stability. I had a daughter out of college, and so I knew I wanted stability for her. And so I knew that, I wanted to purchase a home, not knowing what purchasing a home can do for you long term. So I did it in my mid 30s, but I actually purchased my first home in my 20s.
In 20, okay. So what I guess what we're talking about here with regards to getting a late start. So I started my business, I think in my 30s. Yes. But recently I'm 49 and I just got my insurance license last week. And so I don't necessarily know if I would say it's a pivot. Thank you so much. Right. But it is a new career, right? We don't stop. I was 45 when I got my PhD. So it's like you never really stop. Like you're still going, you're still trying to build wealth, you're still trying to increase your knowledge, what you do, how you operate. How do you think, or what do you think? And I kind of want to get into the video, but I don't think we're there yet. But what do you think that people should be thinking about as they're aging around their careers? And Jermaine, I'll throw this one to you from the perspective of like insurance and or investing. The conversation is, a lot of your wealth is going to come when you're young, but there are still people that are investing well into their 40s. How would you tell somebody to transition how they started investing or what they thought about investing versus now they're in their 30s and 40s and they really need to be serious about it because that runway is getting short?
Oh, definitely. I believe now, as you get to your 40, by the time you're 40 years old, you was able to gain more wealth because you have more years of working, right? So if you got into the workforce, let's say between 25 and 30 into your career, you got 15 to 10 years of earning money, earning income. So I think by the time you hit 40, now you can say, okay, how do I start pivoting for when I'm 50? So now it's like, okay, do I pick up, like the young lady said before, do I pick up a side hustle, which if I'm marketing something, or do I get a second job and I can use that funds right here? Let's say it was $500 a month, right? I used to always tell people $500 a month can make a big difference. If I can find a way to save $500 a month for what I'm spending already and cut my expenses, or do I go out there and say, do I make an ebook or whatever I'm good at? If I do hair, if I cut hair, or whatever that skill that I have, if I can make an extra $500 a month, that can change my trajectory of my future. So then I will go and put that into the stock market. I will go ahead and go to some products that's going to give me a return of 9 to 10% annually. And and then you put that $500 in there, you're looking at in the next 5 years, you're looking at $35,000, $40,000, which gives you flexibility and options. So I believe at 40 is a great age to just pivot and say, okay, what am I trying to have at the age of 50? And then to make those adjustments. So every individual is going to be different. So you can kind of look at your spreadsheet, you can look at your expenses, you can kind of look at things, okay, my entertainment money, or what's going out the door that's not an asset. And let's get rid of the liabilities and turn those liabilities to an asset.
Gotcha. And that's good information because a lot of times we think, oh my God, if it didn't happen when I was young, it's not going to happen. I don't know if we think that as much now that we're getting older. And I think that that's the lie, right? Our parents grew up feeling like you have to get it while you're young, but the runway is so much longer than it was when our parents grew up. And so you don't have to get it young because we know that your 20s and 30s, you messing around, you ain't even worried about money. Some now they do, but not often. So when you get to be 40, sometimes you look back and feel like, okay, it's not meant for me, or maybe it's not going to happen. But we know, especially like in real estate, Dominique, like most folks probably can't qualify for a house until they in their 40s. Some folks can do the 20s and the 30s, people who probably have had these conversations at a young age, or that was a priority for them. But my assumption, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that a lot of folks aren't buying their houses until late 30s or 40s. What should that strategy look like?
So that is the case, but it is starting to change. The thing is, we think that home ownership is far-fetched. So what I often tell people when they come to me, even if they deny you now, it's not a complete denial. We just need to put a plan in place. And what happens is people are usually denied younger because you got to think about college. They're throwing credit cards at you. You're maxing out your credit cards. You have debt. You're doing all these things that negatively impact you because you don't have the information. But if we start having these conversations earlier, but even when you have the denial in your 20s, most people just stop there as opposed to saying, okay, let me connect with somebody that's going to put a plan in place. And that's oftentimes what I do now with anybody that comes to me. Even if you're denied, we're going to work with the lender and we're going to say, hey, what needs to happen to move forward? And now with all the resources that are available to you, people are purchasing earlier. Like my thing is young people. I'm catching them early. I have a daughter that's in college. So her and her friends, I'm having conversations. People don't know that you can purchase with a transcript and an offer letter. But this was not information that was provided to us. So I'm preparing children now, having the conversations, telling them like, hey, when you get out of college, this is what we're going to do, so that they don't have to wait until they get older. Because I believe that they would do it younger if they had the resources, if they had the information. Because oftentimes when they get that rejection, they say, well, I can't do it. And then they wait until they're in their 30s and their 40s and they try to do it, as opposed to putting a plan in place and trying to figure out okay, so you deny me now, it's a slight delay, but what do I need to do to get there? They just say, hey, forget it. I'm just going to go rent, not knowing that if we position ourselves earlier, it is beneficial, but it's never too late. So I'm finding that now I do have older people purchasing, but also we have the age is going down. The average age right now of home ownership is in the 30s, 33, right? But now people are doing it younger because they have the information, they have the knowledge and they have the resources available to them.
And I think that comes back to, I think some of what you're talking about is risk, right? When you're younger, you're thinking, I don't have the funds. Well, for me, I know I was thinking, I don't know where I'm going to be. I bounced around a lot. I was born and raised in California, and then I moved to Arizona, then I went back to California, then I came back to Arizona, and I was like, I don't really want to be here. So then I moved to Atlanta, and then I moved back to Arizona, and I never bought a house because I was just like, I don't really know where I want to live at yet. And with all the bouncing and moving, but I wish somebody had said to me, you don't have to buy the house and then rent it out, use it as an asset, use it as a rental property, but no one's around you when you're young talking to you about it. And so you just think, oh, I'll do it later in life, right? Yeah. So we're being told two things: get rich young, or don't take any risks when you're young. You're too young. Don't do that. Wait till you get older. So I guess it might just depend on who you're having a conversation with. Jermaine, what does smart risk look like when you're younger, but also when you're over 40? Because we're saying that they lied, right? Getting rich, that you don't have to rush to get rich when you're young, because some folks not getting rich until they in their 40s and 50s. But what does smart risk look like when you're younger versus when you're older?
Oh, so that's a twofold question and an answer here. And I want to go back to what Dominique was saying, because I'm definitely gonna need that plan. My oldest daughter is 26, and I went the way of getting an apartment and renting now. But my goal was, I didn't know if her income was going to qualify and show that she's able to buy a house. So we're definitely going to need your advice on that and how to set that up. And to go back to the question about a smart risk, right? So it's a thing called an automatic millionaire, right? And E40 says it's best. He said, you have a lifetime to get rich. So don't rush and get yourself in trouble or get yourself in debt early by trying to get there overnight. Because most millionaires, right, they don't become a millionaire, I believe, until they're in their 50s, right? So most time you look at athletes, entertainers, and they hit it off at 25, whatever, 22 years old, and they just blow up, right? And then you look at, they have a 10-year run as being a professional athlete or being an entertainer. They might have one or two good songs or in the entertainment business. And you look at, once their career is over, 5 years, after that, 75% of them file for bankruptcy, right? So that's a way we can look at it. So you can look at it like, okay, do I want the money now if I do hit it big? And then what's my percentage of not attaining it by the time I'm 40? Now it's gone, right? So, but I could be a college student, I can graduate and I can go into careers and I can become a professional and I can say, you know what? I can make 6 figures now, but in 20, by the time I'm 40, 45, I can become a millionaire. So what they have is like automatic. So when you don't see it come out of your check, it's the best way to do it when it's not risky, right? So if you have what we call a 9-to-5 and you have a W-2, you can have it come automatic out of your check. It can go right into where we have a 403B or 401k. And so you can, you want to start off at about 10%, but you want to get to where you're at 20, 25% of your income going out where you don't see it. And it's what we call tax deferred. So now you're getting tax breaks every year on a write-off on the money that you contribute in here. So it's not risky, it's safe, and then you learn how to live on your after-tax money. That's your budget. So that would be like the first step that I would do in this age group from 25 to 40. Then once I hit over 40 to getting ready for 60 for retirement, like you said before, Dominic said we should be homeowners by the time you're 33, 35, or 40, right? So the first 2 or 3 years of being a homeowner is how do I figure out my budget, right? Of paying the property taxes, paying my mortgage, the bills, expenses, and groceries and everything else. And once I have that down packed, it give me 5 to 7 years. Now my life should be settled. In United States, we have what we call inflation of 3% average inflation. So if we can make 7 to 8% every year on the money that we invest in, or we get cost of living raises, depends of where you work at, or you get a promotion, you're outliving the inflation. So what does that do? I'm already set in my home. My budget's already set up for my family. Now, as I'm getting more experience in my career, that means I'm climbing the ladder before I hit the glass ceiling. So now I have additional money. So let me go ahead and start preparing and put that additional money into the stock market, which will be an ETF and give me 9 to 10%. So now I have either the 401k, 403b. That takes me from 25 to 45. Now 45 to 65. Now I'm also having ETF. I'm in the stock market where it's more fluctuating, right? But still, money I invest at 25 is still going to grow till I'm 65. So now we set ourselves up at each stage, each decade of our life, and we're going to where we are. Because sometimes it might get tight, if it gets tight, right, for 2 years, 6 months, we can say, no, what, reduce my amount that's coming out of 20% down to 10%. It frees up income for you. So that's what I would do as being a smart risk and a smart investor and planning for the future, because I believe if we plan properly, we all can be millionaires at different stages of our life.
We can't hear you.
Thank you. Sorry, I was typing. I try to be on mute when I'm typing. What I said was thank you. That was good insight. From the investment standpoint, let's talk about it from the real estate standpoint as far as risk go. I gave my example, like I gave my story a little bit where I talked about I was young, so I didn't want to take that type of a risk because I did not know where I was going to be. But now, like if I were to talk to somebody young, I wouldn't say that. I would say it doesn't matter. This house is never going to be less than what it is right now. My sister has been in her house almost 16 years. Her mortgage is like $900 a month. She got like a 4 or 5 bedroom house. Something crazy. It'd be paid off in like 5 years. Because she and I think she got the house when she was like 20. Maybe I don't even know if she was 21 yet. And so what we think about risk when we're young and commitment, it's very different than how we look at it when we're older. And I think when we're having the conversation about getting rich, if you will, or getting wealthy when we're young, all it is make those investments. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we say that they lied, about getting rich when you're younger, you can still get rich in your 40s is because we're mature, where we understand risk better. we have better jobs, we have more income, but what we have also done is miss the opportunity to have invested when things were a lot less expensive. So what does smart risk look like from a real estate perspective when you're younger versus when you're older?
So I want to go back to when I was talking about young people purchasing. There's another barrier that comes with it too. If you have parents that never purchased, they're not going to encourage you to purchase. And so we're not having those conversations because it's like, you can't do that. But what we can do is, if we're starting, we can start this early by having these conversations. So what I do is I have conversations with young people about house hacking. And I don't know if you guys know what house hacking is, where you purchase multi-units. You can live there for 6 months to a year, low down payment, FHA, 3.5% down. You live there for 6 months to a year, and then you purchase another one. You do the same thing, and then you keep doing that. So if we're tapping into young people early, out of college, with an offer letter and transcripts, and instead of people giving them random gifts, we're saying, hey, let's give them money. Hey, I'm looking to purchase a home. Can you guys contribute to my house, down payment? A lot of people would do that. And we're starting them off early, but we're having these conversations. So when you were just talking, you were saying, you were talking about your 401k, you're talking about real estate, then you're talking about investment. That's three eggs in different baskets that's setting you up for your future. In terms of real estate, one thing that I love is I love places that you can build equity in, as opposed to properties that already have equity. So something that you may need to do some work, it may have a dated kitchen or a dated bathroom, but then you have equity in it. And then what you do with that equity is you can use that. You can get to the point where you're not taking money out your bank account as a down payment. And we're putting other strategies in place so that you're keeping your money in the bank. When you purchase homes that have equity, you do whatever needs to be done, whether it's the kitchen, the bathroom, and now you have equity in your home, and you have money that you can take and you can invest somewhere else safely, right? Whether you're purchasing another investment property that is going to be income generated, but these are ways to purchase or ways to build wealth using real estate, using the vehicle of real estate. Because again, that's one way. And real estate is more of a lower risk anyway. It's not like the stock market where they're going to take your something can happen with the market and they take your money. Real estate is always going up. When you think about home ownership, like even with your sister, you said she's been in her home for 16 years. Can you imagine the equity that she has in her home? So if she wanted to make a big move that's going to help her generate income, say she wants to go and buy $1 million multi-family, and now she has this down payment for it because she has the equity in her home where you can make power moves using your real estate and using the investment in your real estate. And then if we're starting younger, imagine if we started a kid out of college, imagine what they look like at 40, because they have the tools and the resources, they have the knowledge. And so one of my things is just teaching people early what I learned late. We can use real estate as one of the vehicles. And it's a safe vehicle to use, because even when real estate goes down, it always comes back up. If you're looking at the market and you see the cost of houses, I know my first home, we purchased it for $100,000. We still have the home, and the houses are selling in the area for $300,000. Like, you can really make power moves and using real estate. And it was a home that we had to do work on, and we just slowly did stuff over time. You get income tax, we get these payments. We get in income tax. So, okay, we're going to put that towards the kitchen. We're going to put this towards the bathroom. And over time, we were able to create the home that we wanted without necessarily a home that's already fixed up.
I love that. And so from the perspective, so that's some investing, some stocks. We have some real estate. So I'll come from the entrepreneur perspective. And there's these statistics that I love that talk about entrepreneurship, because a lot of like everything, when you're young, you think if you didn't do it, you missed the bus. But I wanted to share some of these statistics real quick. The youngest startup founders. Oh man. Oh my God. I'm literally in this call. Okay. So the youngest startup founders, Ingvar Kamprad is the founder of IKEA. He was 17. Michael Dell was 18. Mark Zuckerberg, who founded Facebook, was 19. Dustin Moskovitz, the co-founder of Facebook, 19. Bill Gates, 19 when he started Microsoft. James Casey, UPS, 19. Andrew McCullen, 20. Now, Russell Simmons, co-founder of PayPal, 20. So you have people who do get rich young, but then you also have the flip side, which are people who did it later in life. Mark Cuban was 25 when he started the Mavericks. Susie Orman, the finance guru, was 30. Harrison Ford didn't become an actor until he was 30. Las Vegas Sands founder was 30. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter author, she was a single mom at 31. The Mary Kay founder is 45. Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, is 52. So the pendulum swings both ways, from young to old, and not old. I say seasoned and savage. You know what I'm saying? You're not old, but mature, shall we say? And so there's that, right? It's never too late to make an investment, right, into who we want to be, who we want to become, how we want to operate. The money that you can make, like it never stops. You have people going to college, graduating in their 60s and their 70s. It just doesn't stop. I think we have a video. I can't tell. Executive producer, let me know if we have a video or not, or else I can ask. Yes. Okay. Let's go to this video.
And now I help people who are new to investing get started. So here's what I've learned. So here's the thing. If you're starting later, it works differently than starting in your 20s. They've got loads of time. You don't. So things need to work a bit differently. So first, time is ticking. You need to be realistic about time. This matters. Whether you've got 15 years or 20 years before you retire, that's actually still loads of time for your money to grow. But waiting for the perfect time, that's not going to happen, because every single year that you wait, that is potential growth that you are missing out on. Second, consistency matters. So consistency is everything, especially if you're starting later. It's not about getting it perfect, and it's not about timing it right. It's about money going in every single month. And that is what made the real difference for me. As I like to say, set it and forget it. Third, you need to put in more. You need to invest more money than somebody younger would. That's just how it is, unfortunately. So if somebody was, say, 20 years old and they put in £100 a month for 40 years, you might need to put in £300 or £400 for 20 years in order to end up in the same place. It's not fair, but that's just the math, and that's just how it works. Fourth, the risk trap. So a lot of people think starting later means playing it safe and avoiding risk, but being too careful can actually stop your money growing as much as what it could. So you've got 15 to 20 years. Markets going up and down is totally normal. So starting later doesn't mean that you've lost. It just means that you need to be a bit more intentional about it. So stop comparing yourself to somebody who is 25 years old or 20 years old. You're playing a different game, and you can still absolutely win. If you're starting later, what has been holding you back from investing? Let me know in the comments. And if you want help getting started, I've got a free master.
All righty. So what do you think about what she said, Jermaine?
I definitely agreed on it. Exactly what she was saying there. Just to continue to have that contribution going in is the key. And it doesn't matter what the amount is, because as you continue to put in there, that money is going to continue to grow. And when she was saying that, I just did some research, and I was looking at, sometimes people want to hit big and you want to see the big gain. So like if you had $1,000, right? And 10 years ago, if you had invested in Bitcoin with $1,000, your $1,000 would have been worth $496,000. Where else can you get that type of gains and returns, right? So the same thing with Netflix. 10 years ago, your $1,000 would have been $124,000. So you're looking at being consistent with your contribution, and then finding, and this is where research comes in, and studying and finding out, okay, what do I think the future is going to look like, right? What's going to change? And so this is 2026, and we went back to 2015. I think it was just the beginning of people really buying electric cars, right? So if we'd have invested in Tesla at the time for that $1,000, right, that would have gave us over $75,000 on for $1,000. So now we're looking at, everybody knows AI is here. So what does it look like? I would say in 2035 that my 1,000 or my 10,000 was going to change the trajectory of me and my family. So that's what I would be studying there, because if you look at the history and you look at the market of what these companies have been doing, and this is not even considering, your normal contribution, which is your almost like your guarantee. This is something that's going to take you over to the next level, to how do I become a multimillionaire? And so by the steady contribution of coming out every month, it's going to give you security. Now, hey, I want to take a leap. A leap is, okay, how do I get to 7 figures, 8 figures? This is how you do it. And the stock market shows through history that when you catch a company that's going to explode and you do the study and the research, the opportunity is there. And that's the advice I would give. Constantly look at it like in the video, we just missed out on that one. Who's the next company that's going to give us in the next 10 years that's going to give us that type of return?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Dominique? What did you think about that video?
I agree. You have to definitely be consistent. And there's multiple ways to make money. Jermaine just mentioned AI. Like there's so many ways, like even in the beginning, the first video we had, and they were talking about building out memberships and creating ebooks. There are multiple ways to make money that we didn't have a long time ago. And it doesn't take you a whole lot of time. Like you can use AI to create whole programs, whole membership programs and ebooks to make that additional money for you to invest, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in the stock market, because at the end of the day, it's consistency. So, okay, what are we doing? And having a plan in place. Okay, what are we doing? Are we going to, purchase? How many properties are we planning on purchasing? How are we purchasing these properties? How much are we putting into stocks? And just being consistent with that. And again, before we did not have the opportunities available to make extra money outside of going to a job. And now there's so many different ways to make money and so much information that's out there available to us. So imagine you not having to go to work overtime. Say you have a job and you're able to work overtime. You're not able to work overtime, but you take these extra hours, you work on building out different programs to generate this additional income so that you can invest. And maybe it's not as harsh because now you have this additional income and it's kind of free flowing because you have these programs in place. You've solved somebody's problem. You have information and knowledge that people want. And now you're able to make this extra money. You can come up with your goals and you can be consistent in each of those areas so that it's not, it's not so far-fetched for you.
Yeah, I think making sure, I think one of the things that we don't talk about enough, and not so much for young people, but let's just say for people over 40, is really what does retirement look like for you? What is the quality of life that you want to have? How are you going to retire? Are you planning on your kids taking care of you? Do you want to stay in your home? Like, what does that look like? And then start preparing for it. Like she was saying, when you're young, you might not have to put $100 or something away, but when you're over 30, over 40, now that's 300 or 400. So if you didn't think about how you were going to take care of yourself when you're younger, when you're 40, you do have to start thinking about it. If you haven't done it, what does that look like? Maybe you're starting a side hustle. Maybe you're buying up insurance, life insurance, annuities. Maybe you're investing more or differently. Maybe you're buying a property and you're doing real estate investing so that you can have a recurring revenue or you can have income coming in on a regular basis. Maybe you're starting a business. Maybe it's what the first young lady said, and you're taking all this acumen and this knowledge that you have and you're using it to sell to somebody else. Maybe you know how to make your way up the corporate ladder quicker, sooner, faster because you did it, and you see what's happening with these millennials who don't know how to work quite the same way. And so maybe you have that knowledge to give, or you know how to start a business, or there's just something that you know how to do that will take somebody, like she said, from confusion to clarity. But these are the things that we have to be thinking about over 40, right? We're past the risk part of our life, but we're not past being able to build wealth. We're not past being able to get rich. We're not past being able to be in control of the quality of life that we're going to have, just because our younger, more strapping, energetic, stronger back, stronger knees years is behind us. Those years are gone, but not knowledge, not wisdom, not the ability to multiply. That's not gone, right? And so we have to recognize and realize and know that, and not feel like or think that it's past me. I didn't learn about investing when I was younger, so I can't. I didn't buy a house when I was younger, so I can't. I didn't do this. You can. right? The worldwide, people always say Beyonce's internet, right? That Beyonce's internet is open to everybody. YouTube is open to everybody. You have coaches, you have mentors, you have conferences, you have classes. Never have we lived in a time where information is so vast and free.
Yeah.
Let me say this. You're gonna get more if you pay for it. Let me plug the paid information, right? If you put some money behind taking a course or a class or whatever it is, you're going to get more. But if you're not there yet, you can't sit back and say, I don't know, I don't have, nobody ever told me, because you can know, you can have, and somebody is preaching about it on the corner of YouTube today. Okay.
Yeah.
Executive producer, let me know if we have somebody said we are smarter, it's sweeter. Absolutely. So it's cute that you think I have 1K to invest each month. Okay, that was on 11/26/2025. This is from the comments of that video. Somebody said, I lost you at $500 per month. Sandra says, listen to his advice. If you can't do 1,000 per month, do as much as you can. The power of compound interest is real. I wish I had started in my early 20s. Brittany says, love how everyone thinks they will live a long life. And so this is not from our conversation right here. You can see the date. What do you think about those statements? That's what we're up against. We're up against folks who feel like they don't got, it's not gonna happen for them. Jermaine, what would you say to that?
I think that's great though, because what that does is give us here to not just inspire, but also to educate, and then also show the path, the way that it can be done, right? And then you got to look at reality. You know what I mean? I think the last time I checked, I think United States, it was probably 8 to 9% of the population earning six figures. Millionaires is probably I think it was like 4%, and then like 8 figures, like the 1%ers, right? So I understand exactly what they're saying. Maybe thinking about being a millionaire is not for everybody's scope, but hey, but you do need to prepare for the future, or you do need to bring in extra income. Again, so $500 is too much. Let's break it down to $50. Start with $50, and $50 a month. If I break that down, it's easy. So if I go to Starbucks every day, I'm gonna pay $5.
Don't be for me, Jermaine.
Yeah, that's $5 right there. So
Right there,
5 days a week, that's $25 a week times 4. That's $100 a month. I just found the money for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, you go to the grocery store, whatever, buy your own coffee, make your own coffee in the morning. It might cost you what, $12 to $15 for the container. Then the cups might cost you another $4 or $5. So it might cost you $30. So now we just got $70 for you. So out of that 70, treat yourself for 20, whatever. You might on the weekend, you might still want to have we have an urge to go ahead and get that Starbucks. So you still can go do it on the weekend. But now we have the additional $50 here to put away in investment in any type of retirement. And if you look at it, that if you do that times 12, that's $600 at the end of the year, and you didn't do anything different but change a habit. Now you can say, what can I take this lump sum, right? I could take this lump sum of $500, and like I said again, let me go ahead and buy the next NVIDIA. And I keep on doing the same habit. Next year, I'm gonna go ahead and put $75 a month. Remember, I'm 42 now, right? I've still got to age 62, 65. Now with Trump, it might be 72 by the time you retire, right? So I still got a long time. So if I continue to do those small increments every month, and then each year I add another $25 to it, you're gonna be in a good situation. You really start seeing your money. I remember people was leaving California, and they was making decent money. And they said they went to move Memphis, Atlanta, Texas. They said, I gotta see my money. I'm like, what you mean you gotta see your money, right? These are my clients, and they was leaving California to go to different states. After I get through working, pay my rent or pay my mortgage, then pay for the gas, I can't enjoy none of my money. So I break it down here. If at the end of the year you can still see $500 to $600, and you didn't even work harder, you didn't, what I'm saying, you didn't get a promotion, nothing, and now you can see that money and you're able to enjoy it. And then if you kind of like doing it in another smarter way, I would do like, let's say, depends, 3 to 5 years. out of this $50 a month, I'm gonna go on a vacation. So if we live in California, you can go to Mexico, probably round trip is $500, right? For the flight. Now if you go to a resort, depends from 2-star to 5-star. So let's go in the middle. If you go to 3-star, right? 3-star might cost you about, with all inclusive, might be $200 a night. So you get let's go 4 nights. That's $800 plus the flight. That's $500. That's $1,300. So in 3 years of not buying Starbucks every day, I just treated myself to a vacation. All right, I can say, you know what? Let me go ahead and try to bubble this money and put into another stock that might give me in 10 years $100,000. So that's your options. So as long as you give yourself, you in the game, you got a chance to win. But if you're not in the game and that money's not working for you, you're not getting a chance to money to grow for you, you can't win. That would be my advice: to start low. Even if it's $50, start with that $50. And I just showed you how to find that $50.
You know, you made a good point. So somebody will hear that and say, well, I don't go to Starbucks, right? And it could be anything, right? You got Hulu, you got Netflix, you got Amazon Prime, you got Apple TV. You don't need all of them. DoorDash, HubSpot, whatever your vice is. Okay. So if you heard Starbucks, I was like, oh, whatever your vice is, sneakers, Nikes, Jordan, whatever your vice is.
Yeah, the bar, the men go to the bar, every time
There's a variety. Insert your vice in there.
What I tell people is pull out your bank statements for the last 2 to 3 months and see where your money is going. And then you can identify your opportunities of where you can save, because they're there. Think about all the times you swipe your card for that little $5 here and that $10 here. If you really look at it in totality, like just a couple of months, just look at your bank statements and see where your money is going. You will identify opportunities for growth in so many ways, because you're like, I didn't realize I spent that much at Amazon. I didn't realize I spent that much on my hair. I started doing my nails recently myself, because I'm like, I go and I spend this money on my nails and I like my nails done, but I'm able to do it. So I'm like, I'm going to take the time, and that's money that goes back into my bank account to do my own nails. So just finding those opportunities that are available to you so that you can purchase the real estate, so that you can invest in the stock. And even when it comes to my children, like I started their IRA. So by the time they're at retirement age, and that's why it's important also to start early. So we're teaching early what we learn late. So we're having these conversations. So when I'm telling my children, this is what I'm doing and this is what I have in place, they're going to do that for their children. And then their children does that. They're going to do that for their children. And we keep it going because we're providing the information. We have all this knowledge that is available to us, all the resources. You need to figure out how to make money, go to ChatGPT. Go in there and just identify some things that you're good at and let them build you out a program if you're trying to figure out what you can do to make money, because there's so many resources, so many opportunities for us to make that extra money, so that we're not, retiring when we got one foot on a banana peel and the other one in the grave, because that's what's happening now. You don't get to enjoy your life. You're almost dead in a sense by the time you retire. You're too tired to do a lot of the things that you want to do. That's not a fun way to live your life. You want to be able to enjoy your life, and you honestly want to be able to retire when you want to retire. And if you identify the opportunities, you may be able to do that sooner than you think.
I love that. Yeah. Very true. All good information. We have it. Like, we think we don't have it. We do. We out here. I was having a conversation the other day with someone, and they were like, do you think it's easier to live on a budget or with money? And I was like, it's easier to live on a budget, because you live a more quality life on a budget. You plan for, you prepare for, you go and do based on what you do. Once you start making money, you start living flamboyantly, your bills go up, your quality of life go up. It's different. It's not the same. And so it can appear illusionally that these folks is doing better and doing things, but they're just preparers, they're planners, they know what they're doing, they know where their money is going, they know how they're spending, they're calculating their risks. We over here fly by the seat of our pants. You do have it. You just think you don't, because you're not in tune with what you're spending, how you're spending it, and where you're spending it, because you do have it, right? So that both of those pieces were great. Let's look at some statistics real quick. Some of these stats. on my screen. There we go. The most wealth is built between ages of 45 and 65. Good. I'm right in the middle. I'm 49. I still got time. I still got time. Experience lowers financial risk when paired with education and discipline. That's a good one. Nice backgrounds too, executive producer.
Mhm.
Adults 60 and older lose more money to financial scams than any other age group. Marrying those Egyptian African princes. Insurance becomes a key wealth protection tool as assets grow. Experience lowers, oh, same thing. Okay. Listen, these scammers is scamming. And if you are not in tune with tech scams, what's going on in the world, banking, it's easy to be taken advantage of. The Federal Trade Commission, put that one back up there. The Federal Trade Commission reports that adults age 60 and older lost 2.4 billion with a B dollars last year, with most losses coming from investment scams involving $100,000 or more per victim. That's their retirement. That's the money they're supposed to be living off of. Folks are out here scamming. So one, be diligent and vigilant about who you're investing with, who you're giving your money to. I've been scammed. It only cost me $100, but I've been scammed before. So be careful. And then you have all these internet gurus who went and took an investment class, and now they teaching you an investment class, right? Be careful who you're out here taking classes from and courses from. Look at their work, look at their history. Where do they live? How do they live? And some of that you got to be careful of, because folks out here renting houses to talk to you about how they're living, and the house is rented, right? So you just got to be real cognitive and in tune with things, because folks are scamming. That being said, quickly, what is one scam that you are seeing in your industry? This is kind of going through your industry, Jermaine. Is there anything invest-wise that you can tell people about? Like if you see this, like kind of like beware.
So in my industry, if I look at both of them, if I look at the insurance, then also the financial part of stocks, it's just people just overselling. In insurance, they doing more promises than what they can deliver, and telling you that you get so much insurance for a low premium, which is not true. And then investments, as far as the stocks, I'm just saying, like you just said it, like you got people promising you these great returns and not showing their losses. So whenever you take advice from somebody, or a class or a lesson from um, ask them to show you their losses also, because losses does come with the business. It does come with the stock. So that's one thing that you can do is I want to see both sides. I just don't want to see the win-win-win side. Let me see the other side of it too. That's what I'm seeing in this field. Yes.
That's good. And that's important, because a lot of times we get sold on the winnings and we don't be thinking about the other side. There's another side to this coin.
Yes,
What do they say? Win big, lose big, right? In order to get these big wins, you got to gamble big. You don't just invest 100 and make 15,000.
right.
You invest a little something to get to that 15,000, but all we show is the 15,000 and not what had to be lost in order to get it. Dominique, what kind of scams are you seeing in the real estate industry right now?
So there was a recent one, I believe it was in Atlanta, when a lady was taking money from people. She was a guru, or one of the gurus, taking money from people for membership courses, and they were supposed to do, fix and flips. So I see a lot of that. I also see like investors, reaching out to people that they may know, friends, family, or strangers, because they flip these properties. If you give me this money, I can make your money. So you give me $60,000 and I can make you $120,000, and that stuff is not happening. So people are losing out on a lot of money because they're thinking they can get rich quick with real estate. Even when I work with a lot of investors, it's not a get rich quick. So many things happen. Like you said, it's not transparent, but because people look the part, so they look like money. It's not confirmed that they have it. They look like money. And so people are willing to basically pull down their 401k and give them this large lump sum of money. And then people are disappearing because they think like, oh, in a couple of months, I'm gonna get rich. No, that doesn't work like that. Real estate is a vehicle, but anything that comes quick, you gotta really think about those things, because it's not realistic. It's a lot that goes into it. There are more losses sometimes in real estate, especially when you get into investing. There's more losses up front than there are wins because you're learning. You don't know a lot of things. And then some of these people don't have the real knowledge. They've done one flip, or they've done one course, or they read one book, and now they're the subject matter expert. And
so they say.
Yeah, so they think, and it's true. And so people are losing out on a lot of money. I know a few people that have lost out on money. And then I know other people that are saying, Dominique, they're like, if I give them this money, then they can help me do this. And I'm saying, like, no, don't do it. Like, I can tell you what you can do with the money to make it make sense, and it stays in your bank account. It doesn't come to mine. But they think that it has to transfer to somebody else's bank account. There's no protection for you. You don't have nothing in writing. You're just trusting the word of what somebody says. Real estate is not nothing you do is get rich quick. It's not. It takes time. It takes work. You have to learn. There's trial and error. So I see a lot of that. A lot of the gurus, or you have private investors that, prey on people. They may know you have a little money or whatever the case may be, and they ask you to give them this lump sum of money to help them with their project, and then you're going to get this large return on your investment, and you're not.
Yeah, I think that anytime you hear it, quick, fast, or easy, run. Quick, fast, easy always makes me apprehensive. The other thing is, over 40 people are looking. They're like, I don't have a lot of time. So things that you might have been more apprehensive. It's like your risk barrier falls when it should be higher, right? But you're like, I got to try to make this thing work. I got this little savings. Let me invest it, because you're thinking quick, fast, and hurry, but not stability, long term. Let me see the receipts of the other side. And so I think that that's why people over 40, it's easier to scam over 40, over 50, over 60, because you're trying to figure out, how can I have more? How can I do better? How can you multiply what I have in my hand? And the reality is, the only way to do that is with hard work. A lot of times we hear overnight success. And overnight success just means you found me overnight.
Yeah.
I've been doing this thing for 5, 10, 15 years. I've been grinding. I've been putting in the work. You will find me like Ruth over here getting my work done, right? Yeah. And when you found me overnight, but you haven't seen my track record and what I've been doing. I would never tell you quick, hurry, or fast, because it's taken me 12, 15 years to get here. You found me overnight, so I'm not an overnight success. It just shows that my work has paid off, right? Yeah. And I think that's what people have to recognize and realize over 40. We're going to do one more video, and then we're going to come back for our final thoughts.
Okay.
This is how you invest $10,000 if you're in your 60s. My name is Eric, and I've made around 50 grand within the stock market within the last year. So if you want to learn how to invest, make sure to drop a follow. Asset allocation for those in the 60s will look extremely different from younger individuals. You shouldn't be taking on excessive risk with volatile assets like IPOs, leverage ETFs, margin or advanced options. So here's how I would invest $10,000 if I were in my 60s using the classic 60-40 portfolio. First, $3,000 will go into VTI, which is the US total market ETF. This will give you exposure into the entire US market, giving you wide diversification. This averages a 11% annualized return. So $1,000 will go into tech-heavy NASDAQ QQQ. This will be your highest performer as it's heavily concentrated in tech. $1,000 will go into VEA, which is the international ETF, excluding the US, giving you geographical diversification. $1,000 into SCHD, which will give you a steady stream of income with a sustainable 3.6% dividend yield, and less volatile than the overall market as measured in beta. Moving over onto the bond side, $2,000 into AGG, which is the aggregate bond ETF that will give you exposure into US investment grade bonds. $1,000 into BNDX, giving international bond exposure. And the remaining $1,000 will sit in a high yield savings account, earning you 4.5% interest, giving you a safe and modest returns. I have some of the highest paying banks linked in my bio. If you want to see my entire portfolio along with what I'm buying.
All right. So with your final thought, we have 5 minutes, so we want to kind of keep them succinct. I'll ask you the question. You can answer the question and then tell people where they can find you. What would you do, or how would you spend $10,000? If somebody, invest. If somebody gave you $10,000 right now, or you had $10,000 sitting up in your coin purse somewhere, or your wallet, you wouldn't have a coin purse, Jermaine. But if you had $10,000, how would you invest it today? And then tell people where they can find you.
Oh, so $10,000 today to invest, I'll probably do similar to what that guy was saying. I would go into like the stock market, and I would go to some safe stocks, the Vanguard, the ETFs, and I'm looking for the pretty much try to get the 9 to 10% return. And then also I would look at to a point where I would put like 10% of that into like the cryptocurrency, because I have to have some type of risk. I need to, I need some type of explosion, and I'm willing to lose 10% of that. And then the other 10%, I would pretty much go ahead and go with a stock, 2 or 3 stocks, right? And that one would be like the high performance stocks that's individual. And so I would find whichever ones those are, and then the other 70% going to ETF where I know my money's going to be there. But you can find me at the Ultimate Legit Hustle and all platforms, and contact me at 818-699-2432. And another easier way to contact me too is email. I'm always on email. It's jfletcher@ide-rwdp.net.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much for being here and your information. You're always a joy to share the stage with. Dominique, what about you? $10,000. What you gonna tell them to do? Or what would you do?
If I had $10,000, I would invest in stocks, because it's not much you could do, with $10,000, especially from my perspective, already being a homeowner. So I would invest in stocks. I would also maybe open an insurance, a whole life insurance policy, so that I can, one that I'm able to transfer money in and out of. But I would kind of take that and get into stocks, real estate stocks, regular stocks, and then put a little bit in my my IRA.
So what about for somebody who does not have a house? So if somebody does not have a house and they come into 10,000, then what?
So I would tell them to purchase a multi-unit. So I would tell them to purchase. I would teach them how to house hack. And 9 times out of 10, I would be able to help them keep their money with down payment assistance, asking for closing cost credits, so that we can keep doing that. So if it was somebody that did not have a home, I would teach them or instruct them to purchase a property, purchase a multi-unit preferably, so that we can house hack. So we can keep doing this every 6 to 12 months. $10,000, majority of it hopefully will be able to stay in the bank with good negotiations and connected with a good lender. And then you could use that if you need for emergency funds, but we would keep doing that every 6 to 12 months. So you will be able to make more money, because the more doors you have, the more money you can make.
Ooh, I like that. After you spoke, I literally looked at your name, was like, okay, yeah, her.
Yeah.
Website's there too. Okay, good. All right.
My name is Dominique Morgan. You can go to my website at the Whitmore Group. You can follow me at my business page on Instagram and Facebook at the Whitmore Group. And then my personal page is, I'm on Facebook as Dominique Lawrence Morgan, and I'm on Instagram as realtor_Dominique_Morgan.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay. And so for myself, if I had 10,000, or if somebody were to give me 10,000, of course I'm going to say, get a business. But what I would actually say is, separate it up. Right. So I would say, do some stocks, put your money, maybe 2,500 into some stocks and investments. I would say buy an insurance policy. So I would say to do both of those things. And then you'd have some money left over. I would say put something into savings for a rainy day. And then I would say start a business, because you're going to need to pool that money for your business, or you're going to have to pull that money for your policy. You have to pull that money for, maybe you lost money in the stock. So still have something for a rainy day. But all of these things will make you money, right? All of these things are going to help you. But what I find is a lot of times people can't even do that because they're trying to do all the things, right? And the older you get, you try to do more. I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this. And we don't put priority or prioritize the thing that's most important. And so I say all that to say, next week, I am doing a 5-day challenge under my brand, Your Brilliance brand, but it's titled Scattered to Strategic. And it is specifically for people who went into 2026 thinking everything was going to be great and focused. And you are in this year, you still feel like you're in last year. Like, I'm still doing all the things. I haven't taken the time to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, what I'm supposed to focus on, how I'm going to get there. Next week for 5 days, I will help you go from scattered to strategic. If you want to join me, you can go to the website BYB Challenge, brandnyourbrilliancechallenge.com. Get signed up. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. 5 days for free challenge. And we're just going to work through, what is your focus for this year? What are you supposed to be doing? How do you want to do it? How do you make this year not feel like last year and move yourself forward, right? I'm Dr. Lene Javette, Brand New Brilliance coach and strategist, and this is Fly Nubian Money. We hear a lot about when you're supposed to have it together financially, but real life doesn't work on a countdown clock. What matters is making the right moves with the information, experience, and resources that you have now. That's what Rise is all about. Real estate, insurance, the stock market, entrepreneurship. If you are interested in more Rise sessions, please text the word RISE, RISE, to 87948. Again, that's 87948. And you will be notified when we do Rise. I believe I heard a little birdie told me that we will be bringing Rise to Fly Nubian Money on 2 Thursdays a month. So that you guys can, so y'all can rise in y'all's financials too. So if that's the case, we will see you more. You will get to see us more often. But if not, make sure you text the word RISE to 87948 so that you can be notified when we do Rise conversations around real estate, insurance, stocks, and entrepreneurship. I'm Dr. Lene Javette. I want to thank my panelists, Dominique Morgan, as well as Jermaine Fletcher, and you in the audience. Thank you to our B1 family for showing up. As always, go out and have a great day. Be blessed and be one. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Bye. Bye.